Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Kate, I make videos about books and bookish things, and I am coming to you with a rather substantial book haul. You see, at the end of last term I won a competition that my university was running, which was to make a book talk, yes those were their exact words, about the value of literature to you, and I, being an English student and someone who it could be said I like to talk about books, figured it would be the perfect thing for me to enter, although my main motivator was the fact that first prize was a £100 book voucher. And I wasn't expecting to win, but I did. So I've rather enjoyed spending some money recently, and I thought I would take you through the 12 books that I have bought with my £100 book voucher. I don't normally spend a huge amount of money on books. I know it sounds quite surprising as someone who makes book content online, but I'm generally quite a frugal person, and in particular I don't like to spend excessive quantities in one go, which I feel like is quite a lot of the sort of online culture around books. You expect to see these big hauls and people bring in huge stacks of books, but that's just not something I usually do, so I thought I would just enjoy going a little bit ham because I've been given the capacity to by my university. So don't expect to start seeing me bringing in 12 books in a go anytime soon. This is a one-off because I got incredibly lucky. So I did two lots of book buying. One was online and I had them all delivered to me, and the other was yesterday. I just went book shopping and spent a heck ton of money in two different Waterstones. So I will go through the 5 that I bought online first. The first book is Lycanthropy and Other Chronic Illnesses by Kristen O'Neill. This one has been on my TBR for a little while because I saw it on Paperback Dreams' Goodreads page, and I thought with a title like that it sounds very interesting. It is about a teenage girl with a chronic illness who is part of online forums about chronic illness as a way to process and cope with her chronic illness. I'm sorry, I've said it so many times. And she makes friends with another girl in this forum. They become very, very good friends until this girl stops appearing online. Naturally, this makes the protagonist quite curious, so she goes and travels to find this friend to see what's going on, and discovers that her chronic illness is that she is a werewolf. I thought this sounded really, really fun and interesting, and I love the idea of supernatural takes on what is a very average part of life. You know, chronic illness is something a lot of people deal with, and so giving it a slightly paranormal, supernatural edge sounded like a really good way to explore it as a theme. I generally don't read that many books with good disability representation as well, so I thought this would be a good way to get into it, and yeah, sounded like good fun. Next is Paul Takes the Form of a Mortal Girl by Andrea Lawler. This is one that I saw on a reading list about queer and specifically gender fluid protagonists and stories. I'll link it below in case you want to have a look, but I thought this just sounded really, really cool. It is set in the 90s around a gay man who frequents gay bars and who is also a shapeshifter. So it is about him taking on different bodies, different forms, and exploring queer culture, I believe. I just thought, again, it sounded like a really, really fun, interesting take on what is a fairly average part of life. And yeah, I'm incredibly excited to see what gets explored and how it is handled. Next, I have a volume of poetry. Bargain Bin Rom-Com by Lena Norms. You may well be aware of Lena Norms if you are interested in the bookish side of YouTube, as I clearly am, and Lena Norms is someone who has been around for a really long time making fantastic videos about books. I cannot recommend them enough. So when I saw she was bringing out a volume of poetry, I thought, I can't wait. She knows her stuff, she's incredibly enthusiastic and passionate about writing in all forms, and I've seen some snippets of her work online already just from following her, and I have to say I'm really excited to dive into these poems. So yeah, and with a title like Bargain Bin Rom-Com, what more could you want? Yeah, nice little slim volume of poetry with a bright pink cover. I'm very excited to dip into this at some point. Next is the sequel to a book that I have talked a fair amount about on this channel, Vengeful by V.E. Schwab. I've made 2 videos so far about Vicious, one in which I read it for the first time and went, it was alright, and a second one after I'd reread it and went, oh my god, I love this. When I realised that I had £100 to spend on books, the first thing I did was look back through all the things that I might have put on a back burner until I could ask them as presents. one of those being vengeful, and I just decided to buy it. I don't know a huge amount about it other than that it is the sequel to Vicious, which I really enjoyed. There is further exploration of the same characters. I believe as well that Victor Vale, who is the main character of Vicious, gets revealed to be asexual, which love to see some ace rep. And yeah, I'm just very excited. It is a big book. It is about 600 pages, I think. It is certainly over 500. So it's going to take me some time. I may well save it for a little bit until I've had enough distance from my last read of Vicious to reread it in advance of getting to this, but I am so excited to finally read the rest of Vicious, to know the ending of the story, and to be able to dive into all that fan fiction I've been waiting to get to. Very exciting. And the final book that I ordered online is When You Were Everything by Ashley Woodfolk. This has been on my TBR for genuinely years, and it has been quite hard to get a hold of, so I was very pleased when I found that Blackwell's had it online. This is very simply a YA novel about a friendship breakup, about two girls who've been friends their entire life and suddenly drastically separate, and how one of the girls copes with no longer having the person that she thought would always be in her life. I am someone who cares very deeply about friendship. I have had very intense friendships in the past that have ended in quite dramatic ways, and so stories that focus on the importance and value of friendship, and especially what happens when friendship ends, really mean a lot to me. And because this premise seemed quite similar to what I have gone through, I thought it sounded really interesting. So I am preparing to have my heart broken, I'm preparing to feel very sad reading this, but I am looking forward to reading about a topic that I feel gets quite overlooked in YA. You know, first loves, first breakups, those get explored quite a lot in YA, but not friendships, and especially the kind of really solid, intense female friendships that you form in your teenage years. So yeah, very much looking forward to it. Now we come to the frankly ridiculous stack that I bought in Waterstones yesterday. First of all is one that I saw on the shelves facing out and was immediately struck by. I, Ada by Julia Gray. This is, I believe, a fictionalisation or novelisation of the life of Ada Lovelace, who was the daughter of Lord Byron. I've talked in the past about my interest in the Romantic poets. I read a biography of them over the pandemic. I'm broadly just interested in the lives of the Romantic poets, less so in their writing, they're quite verbose. I don't know a huge amount about Ada specifically because of course stuff about the Romantic poets focuses on Byron and Shelley and those actual writers, but Ada was a very fascinating person in her own right. She is the first computer programmer, as far as we can assign computer programming to something that far back. And so I am really looking forward to learning a bit more about one of the pioneers in science, specifically a female pioneer. Yeah, and with a cover like that, I was intrigued. I can't wait for this. Next up is actually a recommendation that I got from one of my friends for a change, which is House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland. My friend Scout read this recently and said it was really good. I had seen this book around pretty shortly after it came out, and because I'm a big fan of Crystal Sutherland, her book, A Semi-Definitive List of Worst Nightmares, is one of my absolute favourites ever. I made a video about it if you want to watch that. But because I saw she brought out a new book way back when and that it was by her, I was intrigued, read the blurb and went, sounds interesting, but probably not something I'm that into. But when Scout told me they had read it and that it was fantastic, it made me rethink. And so when I saw it in Waterstones yesterday, I went, yeah, go on then, I'll have a look. This is about creepy siblings. This is about siblings going missing and weird, creepy family curses, and I'm all about some creepy stuff every so often, and if it's anything like Crystal's other book that I loved, I will be a big fan. Can't wait for this. And there you go, Scout, tit for tat. I recommended you stuff, now I'm reading something you've recommended. You're welcome. Next, Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I don't need to tell you about this, everyone knows about Red, White and Royal Blue. I'm about the only person on BookTube who hasn't read it yet. It's been on my TBR for quite some time, but it was never something I particularly leaned towards because everyone already knows about it. I was much more interested in things where I could have a clear shot at my own opinion, but I'm curious and I had money to spend, and so I've got myself a copy. I'm gonna give it a read. Maybe a review is incoming. At the very least, I expect I'll have some thoughts about it based on the wider BookTube reaction to it, similar to when I read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, but let's hope I'm a little bit more fond of this than I was of Taylor Jenkins Reid. Next is Birthday by Meredith Russo. This is one that I was aware of when it first came out. Again, like House of Hollow, I'd seen it in Waterstones, I'd seen it online, but it had never particularly piqued my curiosity until I saw a TikTok. I don't typically listen to TikTok book recommendations just because TikTok's been known to hype up some things that are definitely not to my taste. But if I can link it below, I will, because this TikTok really convinced me to read it. It is about two people who have been best friends their entire lives, and they have the same birthday, I believe, hence the title. And so it follows them across the years on their birthdays, seeing the people they become. It sounds like a very, very interesting coming of age, growing up, exploration of entering adulthood kind of novel. And from what I know, it has some really, really good own voices trans representation as well. I was unaware that Meredith Russo was trans, but we are all here for more trans stories, for more own voices literature. I'm intrigued, and also what a glorious cover. I'm a really, really big fan of that kind of minimalistic style, so yeah, looking forward to this one. Next is Wilder Girls by Rory Power. Again, I've seen this one around and had looked at it previously, but didn't think a huge amount of it. You know, I might have been tempted to buy it, but not really if it came at the expense of another book. However, I had money to spend, and so I could go for things that I was like, yeah, this is interesting enough, but it's like a 4 out of 5 rather than a 5 out of 5. I just went and got it. From the sounds of it, this is very much female Lord of the Flies. The blurb, this is what convinced me, is it says, a New York Times bestseller, Wilder Girls is a visceral and addictive thriller about survival and the power of female friendships. I've already said I'm a big fan of female friendships in books, and I love a good thriller every so often, so I thought if this can combine both, sounds interesting. Also, I read the full blurb on the inside, which talks about a pandemic, specifically an infection that is killing off adults and leaves these girls to fend for themselves inside a school. So I did check, this came out before the pandemic. I'll be very interested to see how it handles the idea of a spreading infection. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I'm a little bit wary of it, to be honest, but very much interested. Penultimate book. This is one that I believe is a little bit more middle grade than YA, but I was very much taken by a review by Catherine Rundell of it. This is The Dark Lady by Akala, which Catherine Rundell recommended highly, and I trust her with my life. She wrote Rooftoppers, which is one of my absolute favourite books from when I was a preteen entering adolescence, so if she says something is a good middle grade YA book, I'm gonna listen to her. This is the story of a mixed-race thief who lives in Shakespearean London. Specifically, I believe he is implied to be the son of Shakespeare and the Dark Lady, the supposed black muse that he had for some of his sonnets. So it is basically going to be very Rooftoppers-esque, pickpockets, thieves running about the rooftops of Shakespearean London with a bit of exploration of politics, especially racial politics, I believe. And it is written by Akala, who I had not heard of before but looked up because any author who has a mononymous title... Mononymous? Mononymous? A single name title piqued my curiosity. He is a rapper, apparently, and I'm very, very interested in the ways that rap, spoken word, poetry all lead into book writing. So I'm very interested to see how this translates into the tone and the flow of the story. Yeah, I'm very excited for this. And the final book that I bought is Deep Light by Frances Hardinge. Frances Hardinge is one of my favourite books. Again, since preteen adolescence when she was nominated for the Carnegie Medal for Cuckoo Song. I've been reading a lot of her stuff over the years and she continues to impress me with her gorgeous style of writing and also her incredibly imaginative and dark but not scary plots. One of my absolute favourite books is A Face Like Glass, and it is just spectacular. So when I saw this with that gorgeous jellyfish on the cover, I was hooked. This is about creepy underwater stuff. I have a fear of the ocean. I am prepared to get very creeped out by this, but it's Frances Hardinge, so it probably won't be too bad. But even if it is, I still think I'm happy to go in for it just because it's a Frances Hardinge book. Yeah, very excited for this. Very, very pretty. Her cover designers really know what to do, because like, who doesn't want that? And there we have it. Those were the 12 books that I bought in my lovely little shopping spree after winning a competition. I have to say, if you want people to get involved with your university projects, just promise the English students book vouchers, because I know that I, for one, will be on it. I want that money. I want to buy some books. This has been a fantastic little shopping spree. I'm really, really pleased with my haul, and I'm very, very excited to get to read all of these books. You can fully expect to see some reviews of these once I've read them popping up on my channel. It just may be some time. I have been in a not particularly bookish mood recently, so we shall see. That is it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this was interesting. Please give this video a like if you did indeed enjoy it, and comment down below if you were interested in any of these books in particular. I do like to make sure that I am making videos about things people are interested in, so if there are any of those books in particular that you would like to hear me talk about, let me know, and I may well bump them up my TBR so I can get to talk about them a little bit sooner. Generally though, books are all great, and I love just talking about the stuff I'm passionate about, so you can fully expect that if any of these are excellent, they will get mentioned. Feel free to subscribe if you want to see more of me and my bookish content, and I will see you next time.